Hello, and welcome to the 6-5 Summit. I'm Shelley Kramer, one of the founding partners and a principal analyst here at Futurum Research. And on behalf of my team at Futurum and the team at Moor Insights and Strategy, welcome. We're so glad you're here. In this opening keynote for the Cloud and Infrastructure track, Patrick Moorhead of Moor Insights is joined by Antonio Neri, the president and CEO of HPE. Their conversation centers around the challenging landscape that most enterprises face today and how many enterprises are hybrid by default and not necessarily by design. Antonio shares his insights to help enterprises create a comprehensive hybrid strategy that will meet their unique needs. I'm sure this will be a fascinating conversation, so let's jump right in.
Antonio, it's great to see you. Thank you for kicking off the Cloud and Infrastructure track for the 6-5 Summit.
Well, thanks for the opportunity and glad to see you in person.
I know, I'm super excited. I think last time we did this virtually, but it's always better to do things in person. Here we are at your beautiful new headquarters in Houston. I really like it here.
Yeah, it's very nice. Actually, we're really proud of what we deliver to our employees. It's an amazing experience, and honestly, it's a piece of art, as I said.
Yeah, I'm wondering too, is there any chance I can take that F1 car for
that doesn't have an engine, sorry. Unless you want to push it.
Push it? Nah, that's okay.
It's heavy.
Exactly. So hey, let's dive right in here. So Antonio, you spend a tremendous amount of time with customers, but your footprint goes all the way from the telco edge to the largest enterprises, to supercomputers, to everything in between. You have legacy, you have cloud. What are your customers expressing to you as some of their biggest challenges?
Well, that's the fun part of my job, speaking to customers and partners, because you get the truth. We have a say, the truth is in the cold face. But what they're telling you is the following. They are on a multi-generational IT journey. Obviously, they need to accelerate digital transformation, and they understand the value of what they do is in the data. But the reality is they have workloads of data everywhere. They have it in legacy systems, they have it in a private cloud, more and more at the edge. At the same time, obviously, they are adopting the public cloud. And that's what we call a hybrid, journey. And by default, it's a journey that they need to embrace, but also they need a hybrid by design. So that's why we have honed our strategy to be the edge-to-cloud platform company that delivers the unification of the hybrid cloud experience that ultimately you can consume as a service.
I think the great news is that we've at least gotten to the stage of reality. I think I remember 10, 15 years ago, it seemed that there was only one answer, and that was the public cloud. And the challenge became, though, that so many people, so much data was created on the edge. There was so much data and information inside an enterprise's estate. But here we are now, we have a few years of maturation in software and things like that. But how do companies get there? How do they prioritize? What would you suggest? What successful strategies are you seeing?
Well, I guess the customers have become more sophisticated, obviously. They have learned a lot. I think the one learning they had is that skills are incredibly important. But in that context you provide, data has gravity. And that's where, the problem lies. It's okay to consume, compute of resource in the public cloud. But the reality is a lot of workloads, they need the data with it. And this is where the challenge becomes real. More and more of that data is created at the edge. And that's where the cloud, as we know it, is not a destination, it's an experience. So what are the steps? First of all, if you want to digitize your processes, you have to be connected. If you're not connected, you can't do anything. So that's the first step. What is your secure connectivity strategy? More and more at the edge to deliver that experience. The second piece of this, you have to bring that cloud experience everywhere. Not just in the public cloud, whether you have data in a data center or in a colo or at the edge. And the third piece, which I think is where customers are waking up, particularly after the pandemic, is data insights. That's where the business outcomes are. And that's why a lot of customers are moving from running IT to, innovating on IT. And last but not least, with the pandemic, and we see it now even today, with the cost of capital being higher and higher with inflation and interest rates, they need to consume IT more flexibly. And this is where the as-a-service models become so critical.
Antonio, it's easy for industry analysts like me and others to just say, okay, we have a common thread of applications. It's called containers and how to manage that. And some, legacy VMs on the side here. But the reality is this journey is truly complex to hybrid. While the public cloud has been around for 15 years, the hybrid cloud is relatively new. We all know we need to get there, but there are some big complexities. What are some of the biggest aspects of this transformation that customers might forget or overlook or take for granted?
Well, put aside the technology, which obviously is moving to a speed we had never seen before, right? So talk about 15 years ago, someone coming with the concept of putting your applications and data in someone else's data center and be able to do it in a multi-tenant way and then ride that innovation curve with them. But again, as we said earlier, right? So data is everywhere. You need to bring that cloud experience everywhere. But the problem is, it's all about clear vision of what you need to accomplish. And second is the culture. I think what people don't realize is the fact that what you're doing transforms your companies. Every company is an IT company, and if you are not in tune how IT enables new business models, you're going to lose, right? So think about the pandemic, right? Everybody had to work from home. You have to overnight, right? Bring people home, and then enable them to do their job. At the same time, on our personal lives, we couldn't go anywhere. So how I get access to food and services? So we have to become way more digital than ever before. That in itself is a massive cultural transformation. And we see it, by the way, Pat, on our own side. So when I think about, the assets I have, at the edge, networking, storage, connectivity, and services, plus all the automation and the data analytics, one thing is innovating in a silo, one thing is innovating at a platform level. And that has been, in my view, the biggest part of our transformation, the culture of the company.
And it's an entire culture as opposed to an IT culture?
No, it's entire culture because you need to think about the customer needs in a whole different perspective. So we are transforming our product management capabilities. We are transforming, obviously, our R&D capabilities, but also we are transforming our go-to-market capabilities, which honestly is the hardest part because when you are selling in front of the customer, you used to sell speeds and feeds. I have a better server.
Right.
Here is what it can do for you versus say, no, here is what you can do with your data. And by the way, here's how you do it. And therefore, you're actually engaging in a solution outcome-oriented approach. And the fact of the matter is, as we move to this model, we are selling SLA, outcome-based solutions, not technology.
As I step back and I look at some of the basics of what you've put in place with, I'll call them industry standard cloud platforms with a connection to the public cloud if you want it, plus this as a service, I'm starting to think that, well, wait a second, some of the same reasons that people chose the public cloud maybe 10 years ago, which was the ability to scale, pay with what you use, cloud-based model, API-based approach to it, it's going to be a much harder choice in where to put workloads in the future.
Well, our approach is to be open and flexible and give control and access back to customers. I think part of what has happened, because of the speed of innovation, CIOs in many ways have lost control a little bit of what's going on in their own shops. And so what they are asking us, give me a hybrid cloud experience that enables my developers, my data scientists, my businesses to do what they need to do and enable me to be that service broker. And so it's not just connecting to the public cloud, it's really integrating the public cloud as a part of the rest of the multi-generational IT journey they have. And that's what HP GreenLake does. It is a platform from edge to cloud. Whatever that cloud is, it doesn't matter, but you have control of what you do. Obviously, it's secure. And it's flexible, which means you can consume it the way you want it. So that's what is resonating with customers, because in the end, what they need to do is drive a data-first modernization approach, which is everything related to digital transformation.
If I look at the last 40 years of IT, this is exactly the way it rolled out, which was whether it was mini computers, PCs, mobility, LANs, it always started in a BU. And then a lot of that innovation was worked out. And then IT's like, let's put some frameworks around this,
Yeah.
right? For either cost control or best practices. And it seems like that's exactly what's happening here.
Well, cost is an important element, but I have to tell you, the most important element, not to discount cost,
Right.
is the experience. And the unification of that experience is becoming so critical important. Because one thing is to say, I have a mobile device, your cell phone, you go around, you told me you're going to visit 5 cities in a week, right? You do your business on the mobile phone. However, right, is how I manage that phone not different than I manage, a PC in an office. And this is where the unification of protocols and security and lifecycle management becomes so critical. Otherwise, they run, multi-silo IT shops, and that's not cost effective. So it starts with the experience.
Right.
It starts with efficiency of the lifecycle management, and then obviously is delivered the right cost. That's what customers are looking for.
Are there any of your customers that you can talk about, or even sectors that are really doing this well, or are real, first movers in this?
Well, I mean, a great example here in the United States with the retail business, right? They realize that, yes, of course, you can go to a e-commerce platform to buy what you need, but at the same time, the brick and mortar still has tremendous value. And so a great example is Home Depot, right? So you can buy anything on HomeDepot.com. But the reality is when you go pick it up or you want to look for different tools, you want to touch it, feel it, so you have to go in store. And I have to say, Home Depot, and we are proud to work with them, they have a true edge to cloud strategy.
Right.
Think about it. Your mobile phone is the first thing you do, browse the catalog. As you walk into that store, they actually hand off from the mobile phone into the store. And then through the connectivity layer, they provide unique experiences. For example, I was looking for a hammer. Okay, through the indoor location services, they can guide you where the hammer is. As you go out in the electronic point of sales, you can actually swap the phone and then you're done, right? You don't have to go through all the hassles, waiting in line and whatnot. Now, in store, there is a lot of processing, which means they brought the cloud in stores. They do some local analytics because the store manager needs to do some inventory balancing, which, by the way, we enable them through the connectivity layer because all the RFID that's deployed through the inventory. And then a lot of data gets moved in a cloud, which sometimes is in their own cloud, sometimes is one of the public cloud, and therefore they have a true edge to cloud architecture. But it's the unification of what they do. By the way, I didn't know they have 300,000 plus associates, and they do all the business with this mobile device that checking inventory, checking what things are, but also be able to guide customers in a way they haven't imagined before.
Sounds like a real, not only a business transformation, but to your experience point,
Exactly.
a big experiential improvement. I think the good news is that I moved to a condo and I don't have to be shopping for a lot of hammers these days. But I used to.
Yeah.
I used to.
I always enjoy doing myself things because it's a way to not only lower the cost, but at the same time is to enjoy your own skills, if you will, but also free up some mind during that time.
I love that. HP Discover,
Yes.
Las Vegas. You're
Exciting
back.
time.
I know it really is. And in an odd way, I like Las Vegas, and I think your customers do too. I mean, it's a great time to get in. But I have to ask you, is there anything you can share about it beforehand?
Well, we'll share whatever is available publicly. But listen, it has been 3 years. 3 years is a long time since we had customers together, right? This is our flagship event where we bring more than 10,000 customers and partners. And also our entire partner ecosystem to showcase their solutions as a part of our strategy. So it's an exciting time, end of June. But there you're gonna see the same things we talk in March, which is basically the incremental evolution of what we're doing as a part of HP GreenLake, which means is more capabilities to the platform and more cloud services you can consume in a native way. And to me, is going to be a very important moment for the company because if you recall 3 years ago, I said that we're going to offer everything we do in this company as a service. And that to me is going to be a proud moment because we have made a lot of progress, well on our way to deliver on that promise. And I think customers will be blown away at what they can do with our solutions as a part of Green Lake. So it's going to be a fun time. By the way, we always entertain customers and partners, so it's going to be a good event.
And analysts too. I do appreciate that. And one thing I've always appreciated about Discover is that you always tend to be the first at expressing something and ends up being true. I remember when you first came out with this notion of the hybrid cloud, and everybody's like, I don't know about that. And then you talked about edge to cloud, and then you laid down the gauntlet of everything as a service. And then here we are.
Yeah.
Everything's the hybrid cloud. Everybody's trying to do edge to cloud, and everybody's trying to do as a service. So I'm waiting. It doesn't necessarily have to be the next big thing. It can be the reality of and doing it better or more. But it's always a big highlight for the industry analysts.
Yeah. Well, listen, I think it's a way to continue to lay what the vision for the future will look like. And yeah, you're right. So we said many years ago the world will be hybrid. We said, the edge is the next frontier, which we said at the time the enterprise of the future will be edge-centric, cloud-enabled, and data-driven. Of course, through the pandemic, we saw an acceleration of that. But at the same time, right, the as-a-service model is real. And to me, one leadership lesson that I got is when you believe in something, you need to have the courage to stick to it, independently of what other people do. Because in the end, if it's being validated by customers, it doesn't matter. Right? And so we are on a transformation journey here, which at the core was the culture, and then the innovation came with it. And what we are delivering today is simply amazing. Now, from the shareholder standpoint, right, what means is that we're going to drive long-term, sustainable, profitable growth, but it doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
And let's remind ourselves, in the last 4 years, we had a few crises to manage along the way. COVID, geopolitical tensions, obviously supply chain disruption. We have a war right now, which obviously is not good. But there is going to be always something that you have to deal with it. And the question is, are you resilient enough to get through it and stick to your vision and execute?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Hear from you and hear from your customers. But Antonio, I have a F1 car to push around the parking lot.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, exactly. But no, thank you so much for kicking off the 6.5 Summit Cloud and Infrastructure track. Really appreciate it. I really find these times special to visit the headquarters here.
Well, again, thank you for the opportunity that you're given to me, and thanks for visiting us. It's always a pleasure to host you.
Thanks.